Hello folks, I'm Daniel Nobre. Not usual in movie history when somebody makes a remake of a film, the remake comes out to be better than the original because we compare. We have a tendency to compare, or a sequel, or you always compare the films like you always usually do. In this case, which is rare, both versions of the film are classics. Classics! 1958, directed by Kurt Neumann, and then again in 1986, under a very different approach, directed then by David Cronenberg, the same movie, The Fly. Cinemin is gonna talk about both films. Stick around. My name is Daniel Nobre, I'm your host, and this is Cinemin, the channel for the fans of the Criterion Collection, international films, art films, and American classics. Please enjoy the channel. There is no necessarily way to compare the two films because they are very different and unique in their approach. The 1958, directed by Kurt Neumann, has an all-star cast. The main actor is David Hudson and Patricia Owens, and she is pretty much the leading lady right here. There's also in a supporting role, which is Vincent Price, we see talking about the film right there, and we also have Herbert Marshall. So we have a kind of top-notch cast. The movie was made in Canada because it was cheap to make the film in Canada, and the director was not really a mainstream director. This is his best film, and that is controversial talks about. He died right after this movie premiere, and he never see the finished film with a large audience. I believe he watched the movie only once. Apparently he committed suicide, but if you look like Wikipedia and IMDb, they said that he died of natural causes. So I went back to learn more about the story of the first Fly, and it's amazing the process that the director was able to put it together to make this film. So it's an interesting vision that Kurt Neumann gave to this film. He was a B director, and perhaps he gave kind of B approach, not expecting something. Now, during production of the film, he lost his wife, and that might be something that led him to commit suicide. It looks suicide for me. It really looks like he committed suicide. Doesn't look like it was something that just, unfortunately, natural causes, even why there's not much to know about that part of his life. And he was only 50 years old. He lost his wife in the beginning of July, and he died in 12 August. So it's a little bit month after, a little over a month after she died. So the comments and saying, especially in the commentary by David Del Valle, that makes a brilliant commentary with David Hudson, that played the Fly in this movie that I watch, is absolutely enlightening, and how fantastic it is to talk about and go back in the production of the original Fly. Now, in 1986, we're gonna have a totally different approach of the film. Of course, Cronenberg saw the flaws in the original film and he tried to make his approach more, number one, up to date and more scientifically correct. And he also achieved a lot. He's one of the classic films. The 1958 is not on the list of the 100 best horror films, and I think it's not fair because it should be there. It's just a great, fun film to watch. Okay, I give you that. At the end of the film, you're probably gonna blast laughing like I did watching again this film. But it's the magic of the film itself. Because back in 1958, and the first time when I was a kid, I was horrified at the end of the movie. But looking today and looking how it was made, especially with the commentary by David Del Valle and David Hudson, talking about that they gotta reshoot the end of the film several times because everybody in the crew was laughing out loud because it is really unbelievable. But it's a classic end, it's a must see it, and it's a fun film to treasure. Let's look now at the 1986 film. Here we go, 1986. Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis, and a classic, more classic even than the first, which I don't think is quite fair. The first, it is a classic in its own way. It's amazing how the first one was made. And the second one, of course, Cronenberg go back. I watched the movie, his commentary here, and when he talks about that, the flaws that he saw in the first one, because it's not scientifically accurate, especially you see in the first flight, the way that the transformation, you don't see in details. This one you see, and you don't understand in the first one how happened. You just talk, the doctor is working at night, the wife goes down, a plate of cookies and some food for him, knock at the door, he doesn't answer. He just put a note under his door telling her that something went wrong. And we don't understand, she doesn't understand, and little by little unfolds that way, but we don't see the process. He's trying to teleport himself to the other side. In this one, we see it. We see it, everything, we follow step by step, the scientist, which Jeff Goldblum, and we see the process, he will become eventually the Fly. And it is more, scientifically speaking, correct, because Cronenberg wants to give a more scientific approach in the process in doing the fusion of the Fly. So the first one, if you look at it, he really become the Fly very quickly. And this one gradually and deteriorating status. So is really a cool approach that we have in this film right here. And I think that's the goal that the movie provides, a better approach in the case. However, I like the end of the first one better than in this one. I think the one ends in a little bit less disgusting way, and this is more interesting. The first one, the ending is much more funny to see it. This one is a rough cut. Both films very, very interesting, very two unique and different approaches. Rare, is rare when that happens in movie history. When you have the first film, a classic, and you have the second remake, a classic. Is rare, that doesn't happen, is not usual. Usually we compare, we feel one lesser than another, oh that one is, in this case here I disagree if somebody complained the first one. I completely disagree. The first Fly is an absolutely horror classic. Should be in all lists of classic horror films. It's not. It's not. There's no mention to the first Fly. To the second, yes. Every 100 horror films, the second Fly always come up because it has to do the brilliant makeup. Academy Award winner for best makeup. You see Jeff Goldblum right there in full makeup. It took like 5 hours to pull up the makeup on him. And it's amazing work. I hope you like this review. Please subscribe to the channel, and we're gonna be talking very soon on other classic films like those two here, and see if you can treasure the way that I do the 1958 that is kind of forgotten, shouldn't be. It's a great, great classic film. And of course the 1986 is amazing version as well. I think they're very different. They cannot be compared in the same level, but I think they're both classics. Okay? I'm Daniel Nobre. Thanks for watching. See you next time in Cinemin. Goodbye.